Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We are continuing to make our way through the month of November, arguably the best month of college football. And conference races are starting to heat up. Yes, we know we have a couple of ranked versus ranked matchups this week, and we will have individual videos and predictions out for each of those ranked versus ranked games. But today, we are taking a look at the 5 underrated matchups heading into Week 11. 5 games that might not be very high on your watch list, very high on your radar, but games that will have a significant impact on these individual conference races, and for some, possibly the playoff race as well. So today, guys, that's what we're going to break down here at the Gridiron Expert. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com, hitting over 81% of our money line bets, hitting over 61% of our spread picks, beating out over 80% of the national analysts and handicappers each of the last 4 years, and we want you to take advantage of that and become a part of our GE Nation. It's a year-long subscription. You buy now, you get all the way through next November. It's one of the best deals in the country, guys. We want it that way for you. Go sign up, become a part of our team today, down in the description below. So let's take a look at these 5 games here, guys. And some of these might come as a surprise to you. You look at these and you go, why is ECU and Cincinnati up here? Why is Wisconsin and Iowa here? Well, we're about to explain why they are. We'll start with East Carolina at Cincinnati in the American Athletic Conference. Why is this game important? Well, because if you remember, UCF and Tulane are both in the top 25. And of course, we're going to have a video out predicting Tulane and UCF. They play each other this weekend. We'll break down that game in further detail later on. But this game is important because if East Carolina upsets Cincinnati and UCF loses at Tulane, East Carolina and the Pirates will become second in the American Athletic Conference. They will own the tiebreaker over UCF. They will own the tiebreaker over Cincinnati. The Pirates could make the conference championship game if they win this game and UCF loses to Tulane. Lots at stake right now for ECU. If Cincinnati wins, if the Bearcats win at home, they keep their American Athletic title hopes alive. Now, they're going to make the playoff this year. They might not be ranked, anything like that, but they have a chance to keep their title hopes alive and get a shot at Tulane, get a shot at redemption against UCF. Keep in mind that Cincinnati does play Tulane in the season finale. So lots at stake here in the American, guys. This game easily could affect who gets that New Year's Six bowl berth. It's very important. This is going to be a fun one, guys. Both teams averaging over 32 points per game. Holton Ahlers for ECU has been phenomenal at quarterback this year. Over 2,600 yards, 18 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. Ben Bryant for Cincinnati throwing for over 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, and just 6 interceptions. So both quarterbacks relatively even, both offenses extremely fun to watch. If you like points, this could be a game for you. However, ultimately, in a game like this, it's the defense that's going to be the key, and I like Cincinnati's defense just a little bit more than ECU's. The Bearcats are giving up just 181 passing yards per game. ECU is giving up over 265 passing yards per game. The Bearcats' pass rush has been dominant all year long. 32 sacks for the Bearcats to ECU's 21. I think Cincinnati at home gets enough pressure on Ahlers to force him into a couple bad decisions. ECU's passing defense is a little suspect. Bryant takes advantage of it after a slow start that he had earlier in the year. Cincinnati gets a home win, home field advantage key too, and keeps their title hopes alive. And again, could one way indirectly affect who gets that New Year's Six bowl berth out of the American. However, we go to the Big Ten. 2 huge matchups here, all in the Big Ten West. The Big Ten West is up for grabs. Right now, Illinois leads that division, sitting 4-2 in conference play, but Wisconsin, Purdue, Iowa, and Minnesota are all right behind them at 3-3. This game right here could determine the Big Ten West. A win for Illinois, and they practically lock up the division, but if Purdue pulls off the upset, chaos ensues at the top of that division. You would end up having a multiple-way tie, 3 or 4-way tie with Illinois, Purdue, and then potentially Wisconsin or Iowa. But I look at this game, guys. Both of these teams are coming off bad losses. Purdue lost at home to Iowa 24-3. Illinois lost at home to a bad Michigan State team 23-15, one of the bigger upsets of Week 10. But ultimately, guys, when I look at this game, we're going to break down a couple numbers, but who laid the biggest egg last week? To me, it was actually Purdue, not Illinois. A Purdue team that annihilated Iowa the year before has a chance at home with Illinois losing to get ahead of the game, make this game even more important, and they drop it. Same for Illinois, though. They had an opportunity to pull ahead because of Purdue's loss, and they dropped it. So this game, still is very, very important. But ultimately, I just don't have faith in Purdue. If Purdue could only muster 3 points against Iowa at home, I don't expect them to come on the road and take down an Illinois team that's still just giving up 10.4 points per game, still just giving up 152 passing yards per game. And we all know that Purdue, to win the game, has to throw the ball, as they're averaging nearly 300 yards per game behind Aiden O'Connell. He had 168 yards and 2 interceptions against Iowa last week. I think the day could be a little bit worse for him in Champaign. Illinois knows what's at stake. They know they need this win to practically secure the division. At home, I believe the Fighting Illini get it behind a big day from their defense. Both teams were horrible in Week 10. Illinois, though, is a team that bounces back. Wisconsin and Iowa. Why is that game important? Well, again, because if this game does result in a Purdue victory, or even if it doesn't, Illinois moves on to 5-2. The winner of this game is still only 1 game back of the Fighting Illini. But obviously, both teams did lose to Illinois, so Purdue's going to be in a very good spot. Illinois is going to be in a very good spot regardless, because they'll own that tiebreaker over Wisconsin and Iowa if it were to come down to that. But if Purdue were to upset Illinois, this game would be huge because they would both be back in that title hunt. So it's major, major weekend for the Big Ten West. Wisconsin, though, let's take a look at them. 3-1 under Jim Leonard since he took over after the firing of Paul Chryst. And in those 4 games, Wisconsin's offense has kind of come alive. The Badgers averaging 32 points per game over the course of those 4 games. Iowa is just averaging 17.2 points per game. Yes, they had a phenomenal offensive day against Purdue. Spencer Petras automatically just woke up. Defense did their job. Offense had a solid day, and they beat them 24-3. But I still don't have faith in Iowa to do it again. Wisconsin's defense is still pretty dang strong. The offense for Wisconsin, to me, is better and is slowly moving along a lot better. Graham Mertz has been playing better. Braylon Allen's been pretty solid. I like Wisconsin across the board more here in this spot than I like Iowa. And typically, I don't like picking against Iowa at Kinnick Stadium, but Iowa's already lost 2 games at home this year. They're not invincible there. And they're certainly not invincible when they can't put points on the board. Typically a physical battle here between Wisconsin and Iowa, 2 similar teams that want to dominate the line of scrimmage, want to run the ball and have a stingy defense. To me, all signs point to a Wisconsin victory with the exception of home field advantage. Wisconsin has won 5 of the last 6 games against Iowa. They're not scared of Iowa City. They're not scared of Kinnick Stadium. The Badgers go on the road, take down the Hawkeyes, keep their slim Big Ten title hopes alive, and also in the process do clinch bowl eligibility. And Jim Leonard continuing to strengthen his case for possibly keeping the head coaching job at Wisconsin. Last 2 games here. Number 23, Kansas State at Baylor. Remember, guys, these rankings are based off of the AP poll. We're filming these early, so these are based on the AP poll, not our rankings or the playoff rankings, which will come out later tonight. Number 23, Kansas State at Baylor. There's currently a 3-way tie for second place in the Big 12 between Texas, Kansas State, and Baylor. We know that TCU is number 1 in the conference. So clearly this game is important because the winner of this game keeps their Big 12 title hopes alive, while the loser practically is out of the race. And Baylor certainly has opportunities to rise up with a game against Kansas State, and then a game against TCU the following week, and then a game against Texas as well. So tough slate for Baylor, but they control their own destiny against some of the top dogs in the conference. Look at this team, though, guys. Look at this game. 2 very balanced offenses, and that's what I really like the most about this, is these 2 teams are really very similar. Kansas State, over 200 passing yards per game and 218 rushing yards per game. Baylor, 241 passing yards per game and 210 rushing yards per game. These 2 teams are about as even and balanced as you can get offensively. Both defenses have proven to be very solid. Dave Aranda for Baylor, a brilliant defensive mind. Yes, the Bears have struggled at times this year, but for the most part have rallied since that West Virginia loss. Getting that win over Oklahoma on the road was huge last week. Kansas State has done a phenomenal job. They were really containing TCU before all those injuries plagued their quarterbacks and their defense. They shut out Oklahoma State 48-0, a team that Baylor did lose to at home. But ultimately, guys, I like Baylor more in this game. I look at Kansas State. They're coming off a rough loss at home against Texas in a game where they gave up over 200 rushing yards to Bijan Robinson. And I say, all right, which Kansas State's defense is going to show up? Are we going to see the Kansas State defense that shut out Oklahoma State? Or are we going to see the Kansas State defense that did not have an answer for the Longhorns last week? Now, coming on the road, a little bit rattled after that heartbreaking loss in Manhattan, I think they fall in Waco. Baylor, guys, is not getting the attention they deserve. Yes, they are not the team we thought they would be, but they're still a Big 12 title contender like we expected. They're only giving up 127 rushing yards per game, and I think at home the Bears deliver to keep their Big 12 title hopes alive and eliminate Kansas State from the race in the process. And then finally, guys, we've got number 15, North Carolina at Wake Forest. This is a fun in-state rivalry. And again, kind of like the East Carolina-Cincinnati game, if you like points, if you want to see points scored, this is going to be the game for you. No doubt about it. Last year, North Carolina beat the Demon Deacons 58-55. The year before, they beat the Demon Deacons 59-53. And now two of the best quarterbacks, not just in the ACC, but in the country, are going to face off with both defenses not doing very good. Drake May for North Carolina, over 2,900 yards, 31 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. The Tar Heels guys are 8-1, top 15 in the country in the AP poll. Look well on their way to making the ACC championship game. Watch out for UNC. The Tar Heels are averaging nearly 330 passing yards per game. They're facing off against Wake Forest and Sam Hartman, who has thrown for over 2,400 yards, 24 touchdowns, and is averaging nearly 310 passing yards per game. So great offenses going at it, great quarterbacks going at it, but we like Wake Forest. And you might ask yourself, how? Why? Wake Forest has lost to Louisville in bad fashion. They lost to NC State last week. Here's why. North Carolina has had a very favorable schedule. And they've just been surviving those games, guys. They're 8-1, but 5 of their 8 wins have come by one possession. One possession games. And they've started slow. Started slow against Duke. Came back and were able to win that game. Started slow against Pittsburgh. Came back and won that game. Struggled against Virginia. Ended up winning that game by 3. Yes, Wake Forest is spiraling a little bit, but I look at UNC's defense, guys, and that to me is a difference maker. Wake Forest defense isn't all that great either, but the Tar Heels are giving up over 277 passing yards per game. They're giving up over 180 on the ground. They're giving up 31 points per game. And again, they survived Virginia. They survived Pittsburgh. They survived Duke. They survived a bad Miami team. They're lucky to be in this spot. North Carolina still has been great offensively. They're not a bad team by any means, but they've been very fortunate. Now going on the road to face off a Wake Forest team that now has nothing to lose and wants revenge for those heartbreaking losses to North Carolina these last few years. I like the Demon Deacons and Sam Hartman to torch this UNC defense. It's going to be another high-scoring matchup, but the Demon Deacons get the win in Winston-Salem. So there you have it, guys. Those are your 5 underrated games heading into Week 11. Every single one of these games having a major impact on their respective conferences. Conference title races, bowl hopes, New Year's Six bowl hopes, a lot at stake in these 5 games here. And of course, later this week, we'll be breaking down every single ranked versus ranked matchup. Texas and TCU, UCF and Tulane, Alabama, Ole Miss, games like that, we will be breaking down with individual videos right here on the channel, so do not miss out on that. And how do you not miss out on that? Well, that's by liking, that's by commenting, that's subscribing, that's by hitting that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the content we have coming your way the rest of this season, as well as checking out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks, so you can get our official spread picks for the biggest games of the week, games like this, games like the ranked versus ranked games. That's how you get that content, guys, by checking it out down in the description below over on thegridironexpert.com. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.